Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started with this video. So there's a handout that we had. I think if you didn't get one, just raise your hand and tell you if you didn't get one. This is sort of the agenda that we're going to try and follow for the elements. We're going to try and cover both Moodle and Google Classroom briefly today. I don't know where everybody's comfort level is on Moodle, so I'm going to try and start at a basic level. So Moodle is our learning management system. It's supported by IT on campus. The method that we use to create Moodle instances is to create a new instance every week. So there's a bunch of them out there. So just make sure that you're on the current year, which is Moodle 1920.beloit.edu. There's archive instances, and there's also a Moodle groups. So just make sure that you're not having that. If you go to
EU, it will always direct you to the current instance. So a lot of students get confused by that because they bookmark the old one or the one that they started off with freshman year. So they sometimes get onto Moodle 1819 or one of the previous instances. So if students are telling you that they can't see your course, have them check that first. Moodle courses are automatically created via an integration plugin with Bar. So as soon as the registrar adds courses to the catalog, it automatically pushes them into Moodle. So all of your Moodle courses are already created for this academic year. So you shouldn't have to worry about requesting one of those. If you do have a problem with finding your Moodle course, let us know and we will help you out. User enrollments. Both faculty and students are automatically enrolled as soon as they are either assigned to the course in the case of faculty or when they are enrolled in the course in the case of students. So all your students should all be enrolled in the course already. So we will look at where to find if a student is enrolled in just a minute. Course page layout. So let's actually just switch right over to Google here. As it loads. And I got to load. So as soon as you log into Moodle, you're going to get your welcome dashboard. This should have any site news. And then also if you scroll down a little bit, all of the courses that you are listed as either an instructor or enrolled in will appear right here in the course overview. So we have a Lord of the Rings 100 course as a test course. So this is what a standard course page would look like. You have a navigation block over here where you can kind of skip through the different the content headings of the course to jump to different sections. And then over here we have the course administration block. This is where you're going to do a lot of the work of managing the course. So this is also where you can find the users right here. And then you can click on enrolled users and see who's enrolled in the course. In the case of most of your classes, the enrollment method will be JICS integration plugin. That means that they were automatically enrolled in the course from the registrar when they enrolled. If you see any of these manual registrations, it is someone that was added to the course manually. That could be a TA or a co-teacher, things like that. If you need to add a TA or a co-teacher, you can do so by clicking enroll users, searching for their name, and then just add them. In here, you can also see that there are multiple different types of roles for anyone that you're adding. I'm trying to do one. Okay. Here, we'll do it this way. You can also change roles or add roles to existing users by clicking the little person icon here. You'll see multiple different roles are available. Student can view content, can submit content. Teachers have full access to any settings or controls of the course. So you can add content, you can review and grade content, you can view and modify the gradebook, things like that. The library and TA role is an interesting one that might be very beneficial right now. If you have a TA, you can set them up as a TA. They will be able to view the course content, add content to the course, but they're not allowed to read a grade book or make any modifications to assignments.
And if someone can't see their course in Moodle, is that a registrar's office thing or? Okay.
Okay, so that's user management. Back to the course. Another important thing is the course settings. So if you go into the administration block and hit edit settings, you'll get all the settings for the course. The most important thing here is this visible hide show. When we create Moodle courses, they're automatically created as hidden courses so that you have the time to set up, add content, do whatever you need to do to make it available to students before they are in there making submissions or asking questions, things like that. So just know that all of your courses out there right now are hidden. So when you're ready, after we go through content, adding things like that, and get a chance to get it set up, you're going to need to go here. So that was edit settings, and then switch it to show. Scroll down to the bottom, hit save. That will make the course available to students. So if you get emails from students that say, I can't see my course, number one, make sure that they're on the correct Moodle instance. So make sure they're on Moodle 1920. Two, make sure that you have made the course available to students. Okay. Moodle courses are generally set up in a 16-week format. So you'll have a breakout section. So there's a welcome section up here where you can put syllabus and things like that. And then it's broken into different weeks with these different headings. I have chosen a different format for this one, so you can't really see it, but you'll see a bunch of different week headings, and it's based on the academic calendar. Seeing that we're halfway through the semester, if you haven't used your Moodle course, you may want to consider hiding those, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. That way, you're just making the different sections available, so there's a little bit less clutter when students log in. It is possible to also set up a Moodle course in what's called topics format. So that's what I have this one set up in. So you'll notice I have Moodle tools, videos, and then just topic headings. This course is a mess because I use this for demos all the time and I never go back and fix it. So if you would like to switch from weekly sections to topic sections, you can also do that in the edit settings menu. So that is down here under course format. So right now I have this topics and weekly, so you can switch back and forth. You can adjust the number of sections that are in there, and you can adjust whether the sections are automatically visible or automatically hidden from student view. Any questions about what I've covered so far? Yeah.
You say you can, if you put a topic, like put one topic up, keep the other one did.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yep, I will show that right now, actually. So now we're on the main Moodle course page, and we're going to start talking about content and managing content. So to do anything on a Moodle course page, you first have to turn editing on. This is so that you can avoid making crazy changes when you're just trying to do content. So once you turn editing on, you'll notice that a couple of things happen. The existing content all has these little crosshairs next on the far left-hand side. This allows you to drag and drop, rearrange content that's already in there. Then if you look at the right-hand side, you'll notice that I get these little edit icons. And here you can edit existing content to do a couple different things. You can indent and outdent content. So if you want to kind of make bulleted lists of here's the main topic and here's some different things underneath that we want you to do. You can also duplicate content. So if you created an assignment or a quiz that you want to give them, and then you don't want to have to go to the extent of having to recreate that whole thing, So if you're doing something like a weekly reading assignment where you have just a different reading, but the course assignment itself is essentially the same, read and respond to this topic or read and respond to this article, you can make the first one, get this duplicate, and it will make a duplicate of that. And then you can just go in and change the file that you have attached to it. It also works really well for like forums and things like that, where you don't have to, if you have like a weekly forum where they read and respond to an article, you can just copy the forum, put the different article in for them to respond to. Also in here is the hide. So if I hide this one, you'll notice that it goes from blue to gray over here. So that's how you know that it's hidden. So that's hiding a specific item. Switch that back. You can also hide entire sections. So you'll notice that the topic sections also have the crosshairs so that you can move the topic sections around. Then you also get edit for the entire section. So you can hide an entire section. So if you only want to make this week visible so that students are focusing on what they need to be on this week, you can hide the other sections. And then you just have to remember to hide them at the beginning of the week. The other thing that you can do for topic sections is you can highlight. So you'll notice that the background turned blue. So some instructors do this to kind of like, hey, this is this week. This is where you're supposed to be, instead of hiding or in addition to hiding. So just different ways that you can manage the content. Then adding content. Moodle has two types of resources. Well, not resources. They have two types of content. There's activities and there's resources. Activities are things that are built into Moodle that you can create and manage. So examples for that would be forums, assignments, quizzes, polls. Then for resources, that's where we're talking about content that you are adding. So files, readings, videos, audio, things like that you want to drag and drop into. To add activities or resources, you will notice at the bottom of each section, there's this add activities or resources button. You can click on that and then you'll see the full list. So this gives you if you click on one of them, it'll give you a brief description of exactly what this activity is. And then if you scroll down, then there's resources available down here. So, for example, if you wanted to add a reading, you would choose file, and then it would give you a pop-up where you can give the resource a name, upload the file, and then save and return to the course. The other nice thing about Moodle, the other nice thing about Moodle is that you finally joined the 21st century and you can actually now drag and drop content in. So it took them a while to get there, but you can actually just, if I grab a file off of my desktop, I have a spreadsheet here, just drag and drop it in. When you drag and drop a file into Moodle, it will automatically take the file name as the name of the resource. If you ever want to change that, it's just got some random garbled name, you can just hit the pencil icon to edit it quickly right there. Or it looks like I got it twice, so I can actually delete one. So that's adding files. Any questions?
Jeff showed me yesterday in the assignments activity that I could create a file called exam2 C grades here. And so when I clicked on assignment, I got a list of names of students in the course. For each there's even a block where you can write in the numerical score,
Oh, okay.
and so forth. And I asked her, is each student only able to see theirs? And she
Correct.
assured me that was the case.
Yes, absolutely.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so Bob was asking about the assignment activity and where you go to actually grade an assignment. In the instructor view, it shows all of the students and all of the scores. So Bob's question was, can the students only see their individual grade on an assignment? And the answer is yes. The only person that can actually see all the grades is either a teacher or a system administrator. So another good question. Let me show you one other thing really quickly. In this course administration block, there is a switch role to. You can actually select student and it will give you, this is how this course looks to the students. So you'll notice that there's a lot less stuff. A lot of the things that we see as teachers or administrators are not in there. So they're getting a much more limited view. So this is a great way to check and make sure that if you think if they're telling you that they can't see something, check here, because this is a great way to verify that something's available to them, or a good way to make sure that something's not visible to them in this case. Yep. We'll go back real quick. Okay, so in this administration block, you scroll all the way down to this switch role to and expand it. You can view as any of these other types of users. Then you can select one. Student is the one that you're not using most often. And then it reloads the view so that you can see what students would see. So like all of your hidden stuff goes away. So if you're trying to hide some things, this is a great way to double check and make sure that you did exactly what you think you did and not too much or too little. Then when you're done, you just need to make sure that you click on this return to my normal role. So otherwise you're not going to get into your edit mode. Okay. Let's show videos really quickly. One caveat with adding videos to Moodle is that the file size limit on Moodle is relatively low. I think it's 100 megabytes. So that's a relatively small video file. Moodle is not set up as a media server, so it doesn't have a ton of storage to be able to add videos. What we suggest instead is to load videos into Google Drive or place them on a private YouTube channel and share a link in Moodle. That way it's not overloading storage on Moodle. And we have a limited Google Drive storage, so it's sort of not an issue if you put it there and just link it out. It is possible to put videos in Moodle if they're smaller. That's totally fine. A couple warnings about that. Moodle's media player is not the most up to date. So students trying to view on a mobile device or Chromebook might have problems. Or if they're doing something on like a smartphone or something like that, it doesn't automatically resize things. So it can be a less than optimal experience, we'll say. The other thing is that it doesn't support all types of videos. So if you have a flash video or something that's not MP4 or AVI, it won't support that very well. It also has weird problems with syncing audio and video too. So sometimes it get out of sync, so it's not a great experience. So all in all, try and use Google Drive or YouTube to load your videos and then share. And I will show you how to do that right now. So from Moodle, we would turn editing on. And then as you can see, I've added a number of them already, but we'll go ahead and do it again so that you can see the process. So if we add an activity or resource, what we want to do is add a URL. So click add. Then we give it a name. I'm using test for everything. So then the next step is to enter the URL. So this is where you go find your video. So I have a time-lapse video of a classroom here. So next, you just go down here right below the video where it says share. Copy the link. And just paste it in here. And hit save. Whenever you add a activity or a resource to a section or a topic section, it automatically adds it at the end, which hence the little crosshairs are really important to help you rearrange content. Unless you're very organized and do it in order.
One question, so is it going to come out with that or is it
The question was whether it will show up like a link or like the embedded video that's up here. The one we just did is a URL link. So this test 5 is what I just added. So if I click on that, it will pull the video up automatically. So I'm going to show you how to do an embed link in just a second. So you'll notice one thing that it did was it redirected the course page to the video, which is a little annoying. So URL works, but you can't get it to pop up in a separate tab. So another way to do this is to add an activity or resource, and you scroll down here, and there's this resource called Page. Page redirects the Moodle course page to a separate page within Moodle where you can embed the video. So if we could add, we're going to call this test 6 because this section is to add a description to the video. So if you wanted to just add a little blurb on, watch this video before class, whatever, or watch this video before this and such date. Or you can add a blurb about what the video is too. So the next thing we would do is down here in this content section, there is a media button right here where you can add a URL. So I'm just going to paste that URL back in there and hit insert media. And then hit save. Yep. Okay, so that added this test 6 down here. If I click on that, it's redirected me to a separate page still within Moodle, but now the video is embedded. You can play right through the window. You can resize the window just by changing the properties of the video if you want. Otherwise, students can just hit the full screen directly from here and watch the video that way. And once they watch the video, they're still within Moodle. Okay.
So that's an image.
Correct. Actually, that's what I'm going to talk about right now. So the third way to do this is to embed it in the course page. I suggest not doing this, but I'm going to show you how to do it anyways. The reasons not to do it are that, number one, it takes up a lot of space. So if you're going to do many videos, remember that students are not going to all be on the same type of device. They might have a phone or something else. So adding lots and lots of content to make them scroll is going to be painful. The other thing is that for some reason it weirdly scrunches the video or cuts it off in some cases if you have a very large video. So these that I've added are standard definition. So, but if I had high definition content, it would add it at the size, and you can't really modify the size easily. So it would crop it off, and it would not be a great viewing experience. So as you can see, this one works okay because it's relatively small. But it does add a huge chunk of space to the course page. So if you do want to add an embed video, you can add an activity or resource. And I use what's called a label resource. A label is just a block of rich text, and you can also embed images and pictures and things like that into it, as well as video content. So if you add a label, in this case, we're going to do exactly what we did for the page resource, and just click on media, paste that in there. Oops. Sorry, I'm trying to type it wrong. Insert media, save and return to course. And that's the video. That's a very small one, so it ends up working okay in that case. So those are the three ways to add video to Moodle. If you need to add it to Google Drive, it's the same process. You just go to the Google Drive video and you copy the URL from the top and paste it in, and it will redirect directly to the video. The one extra step that you need to take in Google Drive if you're going to share videos from Google Drive is to make sure that the video is shared with the class, so that the students actually have access to it if it's on your personal Google Drive, or you can make it available to anyone with a link in the share settings of the video. That way you ensure that they'll be able to get to it when you click on it. Okay. We're doing pretty good. Let's talk a little bit about activities. So in Moodle, there's lots of different types of activities. A couple to kind of take a look at real quick are assignment. This allows you to create an assignment, and it creates a submission area for the students to submit the assignment. So if we create an assignment really quickly, you give it a name. You can add a description to the assignment, which is sort of essential. This is where you give them the instructions on what you're looking for them to do for the assignment. If you had content that you wanted them to review, like a reading or something like that for this assignment, you could upload the files directly right here. Availability, you can set availability on assignment. So I want the assignment to be available starting this day, this time, and it's only available for submission until this day at this time. That would be the due date. You can also add a cutoff date so that if someone tries to submit an assignment after the due date, they would reject it and tell them that it was past due, in which case they end up having to email you, so I'm not sure I can use that. It will tell you when they submitted it, so you can automatically do the math on that if you're documenting things. Submission types, online text or file submissions, and maximum number of files. So online text, file submission seems pretty self-explanatory. The student creates their Word document or response or whatever, and they upload that as their submission. Online text gives you a text box that you can type into Moodle directly. I want to kind of caution everybody against that a little bit. Moodle has a couple things going that there's an automatic timeout on Moodle where if you let it sit too long, it will automatically log you out. It's set to 2 hours, but the number of times that people apparently go get dinner and come back 3 hours later to try and finish their entry is somewhat alarming, apparently. So if Moodle times out and you haven't submitted the assignment, it's gone. Like you have to start over. There's no way to recover it. There's no log or anything like that. So I always suggest having students type their response in Google Docs or type it even in like a Gmail draft or something like that. Someplace that is going to automatically save if they walk away from it and something crashes. That way, then when they're done, they can copy and paste it into a doc and submit it that way. Anyway, so you can enable a word limit if you're looking for a certain length of response. This only works for the online text entry. You have to figure out how many characters that they're using if they're doing file submissions. You can set the maximum number of uploaded files. So you're asking them to submit one paper or one document or 2 or 3 documents with whatever. You can set that there. If they try to upload more than one, it will reject it. You can set the maximum size up to 20 megabytes. This is a text response. So if they have something that's larger than 20 megabytes, they can something wrong. So,
if you scroll back up to the space, so would it be possible to drag a Word document into there, which is like a test?
yeah, absolutely.
And then let's say you want it to be an hour and a half. Start with a starting time and a finishing time. Would they be able to actually type in responses on the Word document that I've planted in that space and hit submit when they're done and do operations?
Okay, so for those on the chat, Bob's question was twofold, maybe threefold. So Bob was asking about the additional files area, if you could upload a test in like a Word doc format. The answer is absolutely. It will take any kind of photo or file format. You can upload Excel files, Word docs, you can do PDFs, PowerPoints, anything like that. Yes. Then Bob asked about this availability, if you can set it to a specific time range. Absolutely. So we could set it to today between these hours. It uses military time, so if your math is better than mine, you might be able to figure that out. Then the responses will, when we create this, actually, let's just do this right now. So what a student will see on their end, once you create the assignment, we're going to switch to student role. Let's scroll down a little bit here. This was test 8, was the assignment that I created. Oh, and I set I messed up. I set it to today between midnight and midnight, so we can't submit something. But a student would get this button where they can add a submission. So in the case that you just proposed, where you create a Word doc of the test, and students can then, when they need to go do the assignment, what they would do is download the document, they fill it out, and then they would upload it back right here in the submission area, and then just hit save. You'd get a notification that a submission had been received, so you'd know when they turned it in too. So, and then you'd be able to go in and then enter grades or add responses and send it back to the students through email.
Not through Moodle.
You can add comments in Moodle, and if you want to take the Word doc and then mark up changes or corrections, or add comments directly in the Word doc, you probably need to. It's best to send it through email. So, okay.
When you're studying the time, is that's not any type of specific central eastern?
It's set to, yes, that's a great question. So the question was, when you're setting the time, how does that translate to different time zones? I think is where you're going with that. So I believe that it is based upon the Moodle server.
I think it's the server.
Yeah, it's based upon the server time. So we might have to test that because I'm not sure how that would work in different time zones. You might need to open it up a little bit more than just an hour and a half. If you've got students in different time zones.
So effectively, if you're going to do a test, you can do the whole thing by email.
Yeah, you could definitely do it by email. Okay. If anyone knows a student in a different time zone, they can help me test that. Okay, let's look at forums really quickly because I think that's another one that's going to be. Let's look at forums really quickly because I think that's going to be a great way to do some asynchronous stuff as we're all moving online practically. We can go back to teacher. Here we go. Okay, we turn editing back on. We can add an activity or resource, and there is a section called forums. So forums are just a method of asynchronous communication that aggregates all in one place. So think of it like a chat box almost. So that's one.
Yeah, what's the forum and advanced?
Yeah, we'll take a look at that just a sec here. So if we just give the forum name, you can give it a description. So if you are looking for something specific, you can put that in there. Types of forums. There is 4 or 5 types of forums. So it can get a little complicated, but the descriptions in them are fairly good. Let's try to zoom in here. Yeah. So single simple discussion. Each person posts one question and answer, standard form, blog format, and then standard form. So the agenda that I handed out has a published URL at the bottom. So it's tinyurl.com/BC Online Learning 2020. If you visit that, that's the digital version of this document. You'll notice that some of the items in there have hyperlinks. Those link out to additional information. Forums is one of them. I've linked to an article on Google Docs that explains exactly what all the different types of forums are and provides some use cases because it's really helpful. Depending on what you're trying to do, different types of forums work well. So, for example, the single simple discussion and one post, each person posts one. But each person posts one allows you to add a prompt to the description, and then each student gets one chance to post a reply to that. And then the Q&A is just it's exactly like what it sounds. Single simple discussion. It's another post type format. So blog style format allows you to post or reply to a prompt, but then other people will reply to that reply and get threads going. But it's all in a blog format, so the oldest drops to the bottom and the new stuff populates to the top. So take a look at that article. It will help explain it more than I can orally. So, but once you get that, you can just save and return the course, and then we'll post the forum. Students will see it and be able to respond to it. There are some settings that I just breezed right by where you can actually make the forums available only for a limited time or set rules around it. You can actually grade forum posts and things like that too. So that's all in the settings and on the article that I linked. One thing that is included in each Moodle course by default is this announcements forum. This is a one-way communication between instructor and students. So if you need to send communications to students, that might be a good way to do it. You can just make general course announcements like, please see your email for the Zoom link for today's discussion or anything along those lines. You can add links in there too. So if you are doing a Zoom link to try and do a synchronous course or a synchronous discussion, you can post it in there. You can also post Zoom links as a URL link right in the course too. So just know that that's an option. We'll be talking more about Zoom and other video communications this afternoon in the 1 to 3 session. So yeah.
When you go down to the bottom, you get save. You scroll down.
Oh, were you?
Save the course.
Yep.
After you hit that, you have to then go back up to the current corner that says where you do the editing off on.
Good question. So after you save and return to course, if you're editing an assignment or file or resource, it will automatically return you to the course and it will retain your editing mode. So you can always double check that up in the upper right hand corner. Once you turn editing on, the only thing that will turn editing off is if you navigate away. So if I go to a different course, or if, as you saw when I switched to student role and then switched back, I had to turn editing back on. Once you're in the course and you're working, it's going to leave editing on until you turn it off manually or navigate away. It does save changes that you're making live, so you don't have to like toggle editing on and off to save or anything like that. So, yep. Okay. Yeah. As soon as you add resources, it's added into the Moodle database and adding assignments to the Moodle database and descriptions. So it's writing that information live as soon as you hit that. Just save and return to course in the settings.
And then you don't have to toggle off at the top.
Correct. Yep. And I have to just because I just did it. So another quick thing on any of these that you've already created, if you discover that you have, like I did, made the assignment available for 0 seconds, you can actually go in and fix that. I don't remember which one that was on. I think it was this assignment, test 8. So if I go edit and edit settings, it's going to take me back into the settings for that assignment so that I can scroll down and fix this, set it to tomorrow. So anything that you've already added is also editable too, including readings, things like that. The only things that aren't editable are like blog posts and things like that. So, and even that, I think you have like a limited amount of stuff. Okay. We started to talk a little bit about communicating with students. There's a couple of things that I want to know. In Moodle, there's something called Quick Mail. Quick Mail is a instructor to student communication method that sends things via email. So Quick Mail is a block that you can add. So I've actually added it, so I'm going to remove it really quickly so I can show you how to get it. Okay, so when you have editing turned on, you scroll down underneath this administration block. There's this additional block that's just called adding block. You go in here, there's tons of different little module blocks that you can add to Moodle. Quick Mail is one of those. If I scroll down a little bit, it's right here. Feel free to explore the other ones. Some of them are useful. You can add calendars or RSS feeds for news or things like that you might want available in course. The Moodle Docs site that I have linked in the resources also has lots of information on blocks. If you're interested in exploring those. So once Quick Mail is added, you can hit Compose New Mail. And then you automatically get a populated list of all of your students. So you can send emails directly to individual students, or you can add all and send a message to your whole class. You can add attachments right here. The one thing on attachments is to know that this is going to leverage Gmail. So you need to make sure that your attachments don't pass the cap of Gmail, which is 25 megabytes. Otherwise, you need to send multiple messages because it won't get rejected. You can type in a subject line here, and then type your message here in the body. And then you can either save it as a draft or send it immediately. Charles?
In the add a block, we have a much smaller collection of things that are available.
Yeah.
Add a block.
I'm the admin, so that's why I have a much longer list, I think.
Okay.
So I'll come and check. We can look at the numbers. Oswaldo?
How do students receive that? Do they receive it with your name?
Great question. Yep. So what this is going to do, if I hit send, is it's going to send an email out using my Gmail account because I'm logged into my personal account in Moodle, and that's linked to Gmail. So it's going to use my Gmail account to send a message out to all the students. If a student replies to that message, it's going to stay in Gmail. So it's leveraging Gmail for that. It does keep a history within Moodle. So you'll see after I hit send, it dumps me right into history, so I can see the different messages that I've sent out to students. I go back to course page. You can view history, and then there's some configuration options. You can create signatures, things like that. So it's a good tool to quickly communicate with your course right from the course page to make sure that you're getting the right group. Two other options for communicating directly with students. They're external to Moodle, so that's I have them on the list, but they're not quick and easy like this is. Contact groups in Gmail, you can create a contact group. So contact groups will give you a list of everybody in our domain. You can add individual people. You have to do it manually the first time, and then you can create a name for the contact group. So you can name it, IDST 210 all 2020 or whatever, and then add all the students to it. Then when you go to compose a message in Gmail, you just type in IDST 210 2020, and that whole list is automatically added to the email. It's a quick and easy way. It takes a little bit of setup on the front end, but it saves a lot of time if you're going to be doing mass communication with students via email, which a lot of us are. The other option is to create a Google group. Google groups are flexible groups. Contact lists work only within email. Google groups can allow you to create a question and answer form. You can create an email list using it. Students can choose whether they get emails in their inbox as soon as they're sent, or if they get a digest, or unfortunately, they can also unsubscribe. So use with caution. If anyone has questions about Google groups or contact groups, we have information in the Let's Knowledge base on both. And there's some great video tutorials out there on YouTube on how to get those set up as well. So let's see, resources and help. Okay, so the Let's Knowledge base is just a huge online wiki that we've developed over the last few years. It has lots and lots of documentation on lots of different resources that are available on campus and virtually. So you go to beloitcollege.atlassian.net and then click on this software and applications. You'll notice there's a whole section on Moodle with lots and lots of step-by-step tutorials. That's linked in the help and resources right on this doc. And then this Moodle Docs 31, which I forgot to pull up. Sorry, I have to open. Moodle Docs 31 is the documentation from Moodle headquarters specific to the version of Moodle that we're using here on campus. So, and they have documented pretty much every nook and cranny of Moodle. So if you have questions, that's a great place to check. They have step-by-step walkthroughs with, some of them have video walkthroughs, some others have screenshots, stuff like that. So that's one. The walkthroughs that we have on our Let's Knowledge base are pretty thorough, but I haven't had time to document all the activities and resources and some of those things. So I would definitely use Moodle Docs as a supplement. So there are some like site-specific things that I have documented, like making your course visible and like how our Moodle works and functions and all the different instances and links to all those and things like that. So
all of what we've covered are contained in those two resources.
Yep, between the two resources, they're covered very well. Moodle headquarters also has a YouTube channel that has video walkthroughs of everything. A lot of those are linked in that Moodle Docs site directly, So I would start searching there, and it usually will pull in. They have the YouTube videos embedded for the walkthroughs. So, okay. And then, as always, I'm available by email. But I mean, I'm getting bombarded, so try and check these resources first. Okay. Any last questions? All right. Thank you all. Haley's going to come up and talk about Google Classroom, which is another great option too. It might be, you haven't, Moodle seems a little bit intimidating. Google Classroom is a little bit easier. It might be easier to get up and a little more. So.
Is there a preference or is there
It's personal preference at this point. Like, we're just trying to get you up and running quickly and give you a couple options. So if you haven't used Moodle and maybe stick around and take a look at Google Classroom and see, there's a little more setup involved because the enrollment's not automated, but there's some really nice features in it, and it's a little bit easier to add content and embed videos and things like that. So
It's a lot easier.
Haley says it's a lot easier. Okay. Give us just a minute and we'll switch out.